Hello and welcome to another Domo Advanced Customer Enablement hands-on session, what we are calling AI Academy. You've seen some familiar faces already on the screen. We see some familiar faces in the chat. Don't ever let anyone tell you that we don't reach a global audience at 12 p.m. Eastern. Guatemala, Italy. I think I saw Africa in here as well. Thank you, everyone, for joining us from across the globe and in the United States, familiar friends all over. And we are excited again to be joined by Dan Hendriksen. He's brought a friend this time, as he normally does, Nathan Enderle, head of AI sales here at Domo. And we're going to dig into reports today. As we know, reports are probably a huge part of your business acumen there. And the pressure to make fast, informed decisions are something that we're going to dive into. So Dan, tell us a little bit about what we're going to chat about with Nathan. Obviously, appreciate him being here. He's got a lot of things on his hands, but there's going to be some exciting things where we're just kind of getting into that first AI analyst position and kind of letting the agent do a lot of this work for you. So I'll let you dive into that.
Yeah, no, I love it, Eddie. And Nate, like Eddie said, thanks for being here. I'm officially now no longer the most interesting person on the call. Nate, love spending time with Nate. Nate approached me after our last session, and Nate spends a lot of time with our customers that are interested in AI. And he indicated this was the most common request. So we can thank Nate for this topic. But yeah, we're going to talk today about how to have AI deliver analyses for you, either on demand or on a schedule. We'll go through and build both those together today. And then we'll have Nate show you some examples that are take it a little further, but go beyond what we could do in the 30 or 40 minutes that we've got here. So I'm excited about it.
Yeah, I love that. Nate, thanks for being here, obviously. Tell us a little bit about your role at Domo. I saw some comments in the chat. Big dog, Nathan Enderle, head of AI sales now, obviously a new position. So tell a little bit about your kind of day-to-day here at Domo. So people
Thanks, Eddie. Thanks, Dan. Appreciate you having me. Primarily, I work with our customers. And so I talk to hundreds of organizations a year about how and what they might implement in terms of their AI strategy or AI solutions on the platform. And I did approach Dan with this one. I came to him and I said, I hear this on probably half to 100% of the calls that I'm on with customers is we want some sort of summarization or AI analysis being applied to our data at scale. And so he took that topic and ran with it. And I'm excited to walk through this and help everyone dip their toes in building an AI analysis agent today.
For those of you that haven't spent time with Nate, you got lots to talk about. Not only is he our head of AI sales, but the guy's an art major who was a quarterback in the NFL, and there's no shortage of fun things to chat with Nate about. So hopefully you reach out to him, get some time with him after this session. And when I say the most interesting guy on the call, spend some time with him. I think you'll pick up on it. He's a pretty savvy guy.
We can find some topic of interest, I'm sure.
Well, Nathan, we appreciate it. We're going to remove you and put you in the background for just a few, but you'll be popping in and out of the session while Dan kind of gets things rolling and then joining us at the end of the call. Max says, bet he can't throw a football over them mountains. A Napoleon Dynamite reference. So you've got a little bit of everything today's session. Nate, thanks again. We'll see you in a few. Dan, obviously, it's great to be joined by you. We've got a lot of things to chat about. I would like to do some housekeeping, if you'd give me just a few moments with the audience. There are a couple things that we want to make sure folks are aware of, and things that maybe we weren't aware of that were brought to our attention, and I definitely want to apologize for it. First, episode 3 is very hard to do without access to the links post-event in the recordings. We apologize for that. We use obviously a vendor for doing some of these StreamYard live streams here at Domo, and they have taken away the ability to see the chat post-event. We did not know that. Now that we know it, because it's been brought to our attention by our wonderful community, which I love. Thank you guys so much, and continue to give us that feedback. We're going to try our best. Any access to resources that you need for any of these sessions will be shown on screen in some way, whether it be a QR code or a bit.ly link, something quick. You can access it and pause the video to be able to see that. So again, we apologize for not being able to do that over the course of the last several sessions. And we'll make sure we'll go back retroactively and add them to the events thread or add them into the events description. So again, thanks for being patient with us. Again, we hear you, and we're making that change to make sure that you can have that. We obviously always get questions about recordings. All of these recordings are online. If you visit community-forums.domo.com, you will be able to find these in the past event section of the event sidebar there on the right-hand side in Community Forums. You'll be able to see all past events and all recordings forever in time. Dan, I'm not keeping a running total. We've done about 80 to 90 live streams. All of them are available in that link. Obviously, we haven't done 80 to 90 AI Academies. This is just episode 4 of the AI Academy series with our advanced customer enablement team. But more to come, obviously, and any past events you'll be able to see on our community forum. Okay, I've taken up way too much time. I want Dan to jump right in because this is going to be an exciting one. But Dan, do you think we should maybe throw the QR code up so folks can get an idea of what may be to come?
Yeah, let's do it. Riley is going to be with us for episode 5. You can see that QR code up there in the corner. Scan that thing. You don't want to miss it. Riley is going to do one on rubric scoring. So rubric scoring. We show you how to automatically do some analyses and rank folks or products or what have you. Super cool. Had a ton of demand for it. I think you'll love it.
Yeah, they're gonna.
What is it? What date?
I believe we've targeted
the 22nd.
The 22nd at 2 p.m. Mountain, 4 p.m. Eastern. Again, we're trying to change some time zones around so everybody can join us. But we're going to dive into some call transcript analyzer, which is really, really cool. So if you're interested in any of that, QR code, top right-hand corner of your screen, should be the top right of your screen as well. Make sure that that you sign up for that session, and we'll be throwing in the community. You'll get notified again if you're a member of the community, which we hope you are. All right, that's enough of me. You've stared at my beautiful mug long enough. Let's move over to that beautiful mug and those beautiful mountains for the remainder of the session. Thanks again, Dan.
Yeah, no problem. Thank you. Let me share out my screen here. We're going to go with the entire screen this time. Let's see. We'll do this one. All right, Eddie, is that okay? Perfect. There we go. So what we're gonna cover today, right? And Nate's going to show you some really cool examples of this, but we're going to build this guy here. And what this is an agent that every Monday morning is going to send an email. And you can schedule it however you want to, but it's going to send an email that's done some analysis that we've instructed it to do every single week. So like Eddie mentioned, you got a ton of content in Domo. There's a lot of things to see. Sometimes you just need someone or something to bubble up the most important things, and that's what this is designed to do. So we're going to keep it fairly simple. Nate's going to show you some more complex examples, and we would love to build some more complex examples one-on-one, both Nate and I with you. So get a hold of your account team and make sure you can find some time with us. But you can see here, I've asked it to tell me about regional performance, SKU performance, and year-on-year revenue trends. And it's got some action items, and we're going to get this email, like I said, in our example we're going to build out today, every Monday morning. We're also going to take it a step further, and we're going to have, instead of a scheduled one, we're going to have an ad hoc or an on-demand one where we can ask it some questions. You can see here, I just asked it, what's my top selling product? What's my worst performing region? And which day did I do the most revenue last year? Just chose those at random. Maybe we'll choose some different ones today. But it provided that summary to me via email. Again, we'll show you, Nate will show you some cool ways to put that analysis on the screen, include it in things like scheduled reports and whatnot. But we're going to go through the meat of the AI bit of it today. So first thing I want you to do, we're not going to have any of our long blocks of text we got to try to find, but we do have a data set that I'm going to use. You don't have to use the same data set. Cool thing about this one is you can literally point it at any data that you've got. But if you want to follow along with me exactly the same way, let's hit connect data. Let's go to connectors. And in this Moto data, or maybe which, let's see, got to remember which connector it's in. Riley, remind me here, what connector am I looking in? Sorry, guys. We're after the barbecue sales data. Let's see if I can get my little chat up here. We got Riley hanging out in the background. Sample data connector. Thanks, Riley. You'd think it's my first time. Sample data connector, and the data source we want, we're going to go off of some fictitious barbecue or some grill sales data. You remember what we called it? Let's see. I thought we called it barbecue.
Looks like
sales
Moto
data.
Moto Retail from Riley.
Oh, from Riley. Okay. Moto Retail Connector?
No,
Or
I
Moto Retail Data Set.
Yeah,
Sorry,
you're
guys.
looking for that data set. Yeah, sample data connector and then Moto Retail.
Moto Retail. All right. Sorry about that. Moto Retail.
We did it. Good job,
There
Dan.
we go. Greg and Riley have used this before. It's my first time, so I apologize, guys. BBQ grill sales. That's what we want. Sample data connector, data source, Moto Retail, report, BBQ grill sales. Again, this is just fake data that I had an AI make for me. BBQ sales data. If you've got a real data set you want to use, I would encourage you to do that. Again, though, if you want to get the exact same responses and whatnot that I am, feel free to use this one. So you should have your data set there, 77,000 rows. Again, if we take a look at this, it's pretty standard data. We've got date, region, customer and store ID, SKU, units sold, unit cost, and total cost, right? So pretty basic sales data. It's not particularly lumpy or interesting. Again, something that we just whipped up really quickly. But let's dive into the automated insights part. I'm going to have you hit this More button up in the top header here and go to workflows like the ones we've done in the past. This is going to be a workflow-based AI agent. It's one that's going to have one single step, but let's hit New Workflow, Blank Workflow, and we're just going to call this AI Analysis Agent. I'm going to give it a description. You don't have to. But I'm going to leave mine at version 1.0.0. And if you don't have workflows in your Domo environment, hit up your account team. It should be turned on for you. If it's not, let your account team know. We can get that enabled, and you come back and follow along. But I'm going to go ahead and hit save. And we are presented this blank canvas, like we have in the past, where we're going to create our agent. I'm going to have you click on that start step or that start shape. And you should see this little arrow appear with these two icons at the bottom. I'm going to have you click on plus. And what we want to add is this AI agent task. So we click on that. And then you'll notice this rail on the right-hand side appears. And this is where we can configure that step. If this is your first time doing it, whatever step you're on in the workflow gets configured in this pane over here on the right. And I'm going to give it a title, AI Analysis. You can call it whatever you want to. All this title is good for is the label here on the box. And then if you want to put a description in here, this would be for anybody who comes along later and is wanting to gain an understanding of exactly what it was that you're doing. The real magic here is going to take place inside of this Configure AI Agent button. So we're going to click that. And you can see here, we've got 3 tabs, Configuration, Tools, and Testing. If you followed along with this before, this should be familiar for you. Then we've got Instructions. We've got our input and output parameters. I want to focus on the instructions here. What we're going to do is I'm going to tell this thing, you are an expert operations analyst tasked with looking for or analyzing trends in data. I want you to analyze several different points. That's our instructions, right? Pretty straightforward. We're going to leave the instructions there. And now we're going to pivot to the input.
Hey, Dan.
This is, yeah.
Real quick question here. Do you have to point it at a data set, or can you have a standard prompt that scans a website? For example, can you summarize the trending topics from reddit.com/subreddit?
That's a great question. The way that we would handle something like that is is get the content of that in our file sets and leverage that. So that is possible. What we're going to cover today is going to be focused on a data set. I would encourage you to, frankly, I haven't asked it to go look at a public URL like that. So I don't know exactly what we're going to get there, but if you had unstructured data in your data store, and we do have some screen scraping tools possible, you could scrape Reddit, load that in the data set, and have that serve as the knowledge base that you wanted to look at. So
Diego, that's great. Diego had a question. Are there non-workflow based agents?
Yeah, so there's different things you can do there, but most of them are gonna take place in the workflows tool. They certainly don't all have to. We'll show you some examples that leverage Jupyter. We'll show you some that leverage workflows and Jupyter together. And of course, the agent could exist solely in a pro code app, no workflow involved. So yeah, you've got a lot of options there, Diego.
Awesome. As always, thanks for answering the questions. Let you get back.
Yeah, no problem. Thanks for the interruption. It's hard to watch the chat and talk at the same time, so I appreciate it as always. We're gonna, like I mentioned, we're gonna pivot over to the input, and this is where dynamic elements of your agent exist. We're not really going to do anything dynamic here, but what I do want to put in the prompt is the 3 things that I want it to do. And we'll follow that same pattern we did before. And I'm going to tell it first, please look at the analysis by region over time. We want to look at last month and compare, if I can type right, and compare that to the same month from 1 year ago. I'm going to ask it to write a summary of what regions are seeing the most and least growth and call out anything interesting. So if you're pointing it at your own data, you can ask it whatever you want to. If you're following along, you should get a good reply here. I see Walter's asking to copy the instructions into the chat. Is that going to work, Eddie, or do we want to pause here for a second?
I feel like that could get pretty lengthy. It'd be pretty hard, but obviously when you rewatch this, try to follow along the best you can. But when you rewatch, the best thing probably to do is to pause it.
Yeah, sure.
And try your best to emulate. But
Well,
Arbor
and the
Rose
good news
has already taken care of it. So,
oh man, what a stud!
What a stud! But if you're watching this back, you're not having access to that. This would be a good opportunity to pause a video.
Well, the good news is you don't have to follow my instructions exactly, right? I'm choosing a medium level of verbosity in my prompt here, and really, whatever you ask it is going to determine what it replies. But the important thing to understand is the concept of how we can get this thing to look at some data, summarize it, and send us a report on a schedule. So what data you want it to review and what you want it to tell you, entirely up to you. The second thing I'm going to ask it to do is do the same thing, but look at SKU instead of region. So I want to know on a SKU level. For SKU, I want to analyze, let's go with a 4-week window. And let's say we want to compare it to the same 4 weeks last year. I want to call out top performers. Please call out top performers. Let's ask it for low performers and anything that stands out. Again, we'll ask it to find anything interesting. Remember, you're providing a summary of your detailed analysis, right? So giving it fairly thorough instructions of what I want it to do for the region. For this last one, I'm gonna give it an easy one, and I'm just gonna say, once that's done, please analyze revenue trends year on year. Right, so the 3 things that I'm asking it to analyze, and then last of all, I'm gonna say, please wrap all of those 3 summaries up into a nice email and send it to Dan Hendriksen, as we're going to specify in the send email tool. We'll get into tools here in just a second. So the instructions I gave it is that it's an expert operations analyst tasked with looking, we'll fix my typo there, for or analyzing trends. And then in the prompt, I've given it the details on the instructions. I'm going to go ahead and hit OK. I'm going to fix my typo here. And now that we've told this AI agent what it is, we've given it some parameters around what we want it to do. The next step is we need to let it know what tools we want it to leverage in order to do that, right? That's done on this Tools tab. So if we look at our instructions here, first, please look at analysis by region over time. We want you to look at last month compared to the same month. We want it to provide a summary. So we need to give it access to some data, right? The way that we're going to do that is under Tools. We're going to search for the word query. We want to allow it to query a data set, excuse me. And in this Domo datasets package, I'm going to search for query again, and we can see there's this query with SQL function. I'm going to click on that guy, and I'm going to hit add functions. Now, once we've got that tool here, if I click on it, you can see I've got the opportunity to give it a description and hard code some of the inputs if I want to. So in the description, it says query for data matching the provided SQL statement. I'm going to give it a little bit more of a description and say, use this to find the data to analyze. Remember, the AI is going to use the instructions in the prompt to figure out which tools to use. So the more descriptive you can be in the tools, either in the instructions or in the tool itself, the more efficient your agent is going to be at finding what you want. And now, as it relates to the data set, I haven't told it what data I want it to look at. If I leave it at autofill value, it's just going to guess, right? What I want to do is I want to change this to custom value, and I'm going to tell it which data set to use. So here I'm going to select custom. I'm going to hit choose data set. I'm going to grab my BBQ sales data. Again, you can point it to whatever data set you want. Now, if your data set's got a particularly complex schema, you may want to give it some clues as to which columns to look at in order to answer the questions that you're after. Our data set's pretty dang straightforward, so it's going to do a good job of figuring it out. But to help it make sure it knows what to do, I'm going to give it access to one additional tool, and that is the data set's metadata. So if in this search, you search for the word metadata, and now this, you don't have to do this. This is just going to help your agent be that much more efficient. Inside of Domo datasets, there's a get metadata function. That will return all sorts of details about that data set. It'll help the AI know how current it is, all sorts of things. But most importantly, it'll allow the AI to understand the data set schema so that it can know how to effectively query it, and it doesn't need to iterate through and try a whole bunch of times. So I'm going to give it access to that. And I don't think we need to provide any additional instructions for get the metadata, but I am going to point it to that same data set, just so if it decides to use it, it knows exactly what data to get the metadata for, right? Let's go back to our instructions here, right? So we've asked it to do analysis by region over time. So it's got access to the data. We want it to look at last month. That's all query stuff. It'll figure that out. And we asked it to write a summary of what regions are seeing the most and least growth and call out anything interesting, okay? We wanted to write a summary. We should give it access to a tool to do that, right? So back under tools, I'm going to search for AI, and I'm going to give our AI agent access to the Domo AI Service Layers text generation tool, right? This tool is what it can use to provide a prompt and get that text generation, that text back. So we're going to give it access to that tool. Then let's look at our instructions again here really quick. The second one, we're just asking it to look at a data set, so to look at that same one. The third one, we're asking it to analyze revenue trends year over year. This last one, we're telling it to wrap up all those and send a nice email. Okay, so we got to give it access to a tool to allow it to send an email. So I'm going to go back to tools. We're going to hit add tools, and I'm going to search for send. And in this Domo notifications package, there is a send email function. I'm going to give it access to that one. You could choose a variety of these. This is the one I'm going to go with, and I'm going to not make it, guess at who I am. I'm going to come down to this person recipients. I'm going to choose custom value, and I'm going to add myself, Dan Hendriksen. You can add as many people here as you want to. You can add groups. You can put a comma-separated list of recipient emails, or you could use any of the other variety of functions that we've got available. I'm going to stick with that one. And what we're going to do really quick to test this, we've got this testing tab. In order to test it, we need to provide it with an input. Our input is currently saved here in this parameters box. So I'm going to copy what I have in this input. I'm going to hit OK. Then I'm going to go over to testing, and I'm going to hit paste, and we're going to hit run. Now, this is going to take a second. It's going to go through and do its thing. And when it gets done, as you've seen in other examples, we're going to see a JSON blob over here on the right-hand side that we can follow along and see all the steps that our AI agent took. It's actually going to do everything that we asked it to do as well. So you will receive that email, or whoever you told it to send an email to will receive that email. But Nate, why this does its thing, I know you had some thoughts you wanted to share on this topic.
Certainly, and we've gotten a number of questions in the chat related to kind of prompting and different approaches you can take. And so there's a couple cues. The first thing I want to talk about is whenever we're designing an agent, it should be an iterative process. We want to run some initial tests, get some feedback from how it's performing certain tasks, and then to use that to re-engineer the system. A couple cues here would be making sure you're testing the different tasks you're asking the agent to produce, and then checking the outputs, and also understanding the longer it takes to reason in this step, the longer it takes to produce an output, and the more reasoning attempts it made. That's a cue for you that you might need to be more descriptive in your prompt. And so you need to strike a balance of how descriptive you want the prompt or the input to be for the output you're looking for from the agent. Any context addition to that, Dan?
No, I think that's good. I know it looks like Nate, you answered Krupa's question. I don't know if you want to add any additional context to that.
Yeah, we're trying to provide kind of a single-threaded example so that we can get our feet wet in building these types of agents. At the end of the day, there's all kinds of edge cases that you're all going to have, and we want to approach those in your specific scenario. You can certainly equip an AI agent with multiple data sets. We've just chosen to select one so that we can build it in a 30-minute increment. But if you have more time, we're going to cover some other mechanisms or approaches you can take later in this episode.
Yeah, so you can absolutely give it access to, you could feed multiple data sets into the instructions or the prompt. You could give it access to the same tool multiple times, hard code some stuff and tell it when to leverage that. Poonam asked if we can use it with federated data sets. Heck yes, you can. It sounds like Walter had a successful run at it. And then we had a question from Homing Mark on how many credits it'll be used. So let me show you how we handle that. So in a workflow, each qualifying action is 1/25 of a credit. And if we follow along through this output, we can see what it did. And this is where providing robust instructions will allow the AI to be much more efficient. But you can see what we asked it to do. And I promise, guys, the team is going to clean up this output. It's a JSON object right now. I'm being told they're going to improve the readability here. You've got some of the engineering team that are hanging out in the chat. So know that they're here and they're watching. But we can see exactly what it did, right? It queried a data set, and it didn't get a valid response, right? We can see as it goes through and queries different things, And when it didn't get what it needed, it'll go through and try again and again and again, right? So in this case, you can see that it took several different iterations of querying the data set to figure out how to get the right information that I wanted. Had I given it more detail on the data set schema and exactly how I wanted it to do that analysis, it would query the data set less. It would use fewer of those qualifying actions, and this thing would have ran faster and more efficiently. But we can see my output here. And if we go, let's take a look at my email. Let's see if it's there yet. Here it is. Here is our sales performance, right? So we can see that it did regional analysis, it did SKU analysis, and it did year-on-year revenue trends, right? So assuming that I'm happy with this output, which we're going to go with for now, this is an opportunity for you to do some prompt engineering and additionally sculpt exactly what message you want to send to that thing in order to get your desired output. I'm going to go ahead and save this thing, and I'm going to wrap up my workflow so I can schedule it, right? So in doing that, I've got to take the output. Every action in a workflow that provides an output needs to be mapped to a variable. So I'm just going to hit create variable and map on the result output there. And then I'm simply going to add an end shape. So I'm going to hit that plus button. And under flow controls, we're going to grab an end shape. I'm going to say analysis complete. We're going to save and deploy this thing. So we're going to hit this 3-dot menu up in the upper right. We're going to hit deploy. We're going to hit deploy once more. And now our workflow is successfully deployed, and it can be leveraged with various triggers, right? So you can have alerts, you can have lots of different things that will schedule that. We've talked a lot about triggers and different things as we've gone through workflow stuff on here. But what I want to have you do is after we've saved it, exit out of that workflow, and under this triggers tab, this is where we can schedule it, right? So we can add a trigger up here in the upper right. I'm going to add a timer for version 1.0.0. And I don't want to do it every minute. I want to do it every week on Mondays at, we'll go with 9 a.m. UTC. We'll call this weekly sales summary, right? Now, just like that, every Monday, at 9 a.m., I'm going to get that email, right? So you can obviously schedule it however you best see fit, but wanted you to understand how to take that away and deliver that to your audience. Again, you can go through and you can have that iterate through and apply different filters, different users, do all sorts of different things. But we're keeping it simple. And before I hand it over to Nate to look at a couple of more complex examples, I wanted to show you that second one where we looked at here, where we could ask it any questions, right? And here you can see I asked it what was our top selling product, what was our worst performing region, and what was our day with the most sales. So I do want to show you how to get some dynamic elements in your analysis agent in a simple way before we look at the 3rd, 4th, 5th grade stuff that Nate's going to show you. So back in our workflow, I'm going to do this by just creating another version of the same workflow. That's going to be the fastest and easiest way to get there. So back on this versions tab, version 1.0.0 over here on the right, going to have you click this 3 dots, going to have you create a new version. And for this description, I'm going to say this one has dynamic questions. Again, you don't have to put a description in there. You may want to create your own new workflow. But I want to be efficient in our time together today. So back in the workflow, this time I'm going to have you click on the start shape, and the way we're going to ask the questions we want to our agent is through a customized start form. So click on that start shape. Click on this green button over on the right-hand side, and you're going to get this form module pop up. I'm going to call this AI Analysis Request. You call it whatever you want to. That's what I'm going to go with. And I'm just going to add 3 questions, right? So I'm going to hit that add question button 3 times. And then on this first one, I'm going to be very creative, and I'm going to call this question 1. I am going to change the method here from short answer to paragraph. What that's going to do is it's going to give me, if I look at the preview, you can see preview's not working there, but it's going to give me a little larger text box. We're going to do the same thing here for question 2. Oops, question 2 and question 3. Let's make sure we change both of those to paragraphs. That's going to allow me a larger text box to type in. Obviously, when you've got more time and you're going to put this out in front of people, you're going to want to give a little bit more detail in the question title. You're likely going to want to leverage a description. I was playing around with this with one other customer where we added, with each question beneath it, we added a data set that question's related to. So if you wanted to say, hey, I want to ask you this question, and I want you to use this data set to answer it, right? We could add another question, tell it that it's a data set that we want them to use, and we could say, you know, what data set should we use? And you could pair that with your questions. Man, I'm struggling to type today. We're not going to go through and do that, though. Just know that it's possible. I'm going to remove that one, and I'm just going to ask for our 3 questions. We're going to point this to the barbecue sales data in this example. So I'm going to go ahead and hit save. And now I've got my 3 start parameters over here on the right. And I'm just going to select create variable and map on each of my 3 questions. So what that's done is it's created 3 variables in my variable list. And it's going to take the values entered into each of those question 1, question 2, and question 3. And it's going to stick it in those variables. Now, let's go to our AI analysis tab here really quick, or step. And I want to edit this prompt and these instructions just a little bit. So I'm still going to tell it, you are an expert operations analyst tasked with looking for or analyzing trends in data. I want you to analyze several different points. That all sounds good. But let's go to our parameters here. I'm going to tell it, I'm going to erase all this and say, I want you to provide a summary answer for each of these 3 questions. We got somebody, we got a mute there. We're going to say question 1, and we're going to pass the value from question 1 variable in here. We're going to give it question 2. We're going to pass the value from the question 2 variable. And lastly, we're going to give it question 3. Is that how you spell question? Looks weird to me. And we're going to go ahead and insert that there. Probably spelling question wrong, but whatever. Now, I want to tell it here at the end, please send a nice email with your summaries to the person who asked the questions. You can find them. We're going to give this access to another tool using the Get Executor tool, right? So that's a tool that we're going to give it access to. I'll show you in just a second, that can tell you who executed the workflow. So we're going to go ahead and hit OK. And under Tools, there's 2 little adjustments we're going to make. On this Send Email, I'm going to click on that tool, and I'm going to clear the fact that I've got it hard-coded to me. I'm going to tell it I want it to autofill that value. I'm going to give it access to one additional tool, and that tool is found in the Workflow Executions package, and it is called Get Executor. This gets the person who executed the workflow. We're going to go ahead and hit Add Function, and we're not going to do a test here. We're just going to go ahead and save it. And we're going to deploy, continue, save and deploy, and we're going to deploy our workflow. Now what we've got is we have a workflow that's got a form, question 1, question 2, question 3. You can ask it whatever questions you want to, and it's going to do its best to use the data set that we've provided it to answer those questions. So I'm, for time purposes, not going to go through and wait for that to run right now. But you can see last time I asked it what our top selling product, worst performing region, and days with the most sales last year were. This is the response that I got. It even took the opportunity to give me some suggestions and gave us a nice salutation as your AI analyst. So if you want to put this thing in different places, right, inside of App Studio, I'll just show you really quick. Inside of an App Studio app, we'll just create a new one here. Inside of an App Studio app, I want to remind you of this. You would use the workflow item in content, right? So we drag workflow out there. We can see our AI Analysis Agent, and we've got our form there. Another common way you can leverage that is underneath a button. So we'll grab a button here. With buttons, you can give it an action of initiating a workflow, initiate with form inputs. And again, I can grab that AI Analysis Agent. We can tell this button that this is ask the AI a question, whatever we want to call it. And now we have a button here that pops up, and we get our form, right? So lots of different ways that we can show you how to do that. But with the time we've got left, I want to hand it back over to my friend Nate. And we're going to let Nate show you a couple of really cool ways to leverage this right on a dashboard, right? It goes beyond what we could build together in the 30 minutes that we had. But Nate's got some really cool examples that, or one in particular, I know for sure, Nate. I don't know how many you've got teed up, but one in particular that I want to show you.
Yeah. And so I think you can all tell from the questions we're getting in the chat, each one of you has your own different kind of flavor. What we wanted to show you today was a scheduled option for running batch process analysis versus something that's a little bit more dynamic or on demand. So a similar demonstration here would be, if I can pop open my window.
And this is what Max asked, right? Could we get this in a custom app somehow?
Exactly.
And show this on the front end inside of an App Studio app?
And so that's what we did
here. You saw this in advance. Yeah.
Exactly. It was prescient.
Hold on, Nate. Let me get your screen up on the stage. There we go.
Do you see it now, Dan?
We got it. Yep.
Wonderful. So this is actually a prototype we helped build for a CPG company, and they had a very similar question, which is, we have some financial analysis we want to do at the end of every reporting period, and it's taking us a long time, and we want to automate some of that. And so for them, this was an on-demand experience that allowed them to, in this case, filter by specific months. It's not doing analysis of every reporting period. It's doing analysis of reporting periods that we care about due to large differences between what we expected to happen and what actually happened. And down here is that custom app, or in this case, a brick, a very simple low-code application, which is a button that triggers a workflow. So the workflow is actually the cool piece here. And I think this addresses a couple questions we got in chat, which is, do I always want the agent task tile doing specific instructions I give it? Or could I just put a declarative process in place that allows me full control over the math or the calculations that are being applied? And in this case, we wanted to replicate the financial analyst workflow. We wanted to look for some anomalies or outliers in those sales numbers. We wanted to look for trends in those sales numbers. We wanted to identify correlations between those important measures. And then we're just using a task tile here to generate a narrative that lands back for the user. So we have a button for the user to initiate the workflow, and we have a text box down here within the brick for the output of that workflow to land. Now
real quick,
go ahead, Dan.
Nate, can I interject real quick?
Sure.
So Nate's in a second going to show you some more sophisticated stuff that happened behind the scenes here. But for those of you that are familiar with app development or want to get familiar with app development, when Nate says this is a simple app, literally, guys, all it does is it's got an on filters thing. It listens for filters to be applied, right? You can see that Nate had clicked on May. I don't know what other elements he'd clicked on that chart, but it applied a filter on the page for May. All the app does is listens for those filters to be applied. And then when you hit that analyze button, it just sends the filter parameters to the workflow. And then the workflow leverages that as knowledge to know what to do as it goes through and does an analysis. So all the app does, listens for filters, starts a workflow, and then they had some nice visual elements where it, it had some text that hovered there while it was waiting for a response. But then once the workflow has written a value to AppDB, it displays the most recent value in the collection, right? So it truly is a simple app, but allows for a pretty cool experience.
That's great. And so what we want to call out here is that you want to maybe strike a balance between the agentic task tile versus a truly declarative workflow. You could write out every step that you want the agent to follow in a workflow already in Domo, but we want to maybe collapse some of those instructions down into the agentic task tile. But it's finding the right balance that gets you the reliability of the agent that you need for the business processes automating with as little overhead and management and maintenance as possible. And so in this case, we went fully declarative. We wrote down every step that we wanted it to follow, and we're simply generating text from a service in Domo. But we can also introduce other agentic tasks within this process. But ultimately, the product that they want delivered is an analysis that they can summarize what happened leading up to the month of May that might have helped us make our forecast, miss our forecast, etc. What are the drivers?
Yeah, so Rachel had asked, can we see the output/answers when asking questions through that Domo app? Absolutely, right. It would be, you'd create a simple interface that could get those responses, provide them, take additional input, and you create that chat-like experience. We've done some things like that similarly. So yes, it's just the level of effort's a little bit higher and goes beyond what we were able to do in the live stream today. Nate, I think it'll be interesting. Do you mind showing these guys the back end process there? That one that Nate just showed you doesn't actually leverage the AI agent task, right? It's that AI agent task that we use in workflows oftentimes is where the AI makes a decision around which tools we want it to use. In this process, as Nate outlined, it's got a very detailed and defined process he wants that workflow to go through. And it actually leverages a custom model that you've built in Jupyter, right, Nate?
Yeah, this is just a pretty straightforward anomaly detection or outlier detection model that we're running. So a different team owns that type of analysis at our company. So they're going to own, in this case, that workflow, but it could just as easily be a tool that we equip our agent with to run certain outlier detection use cases. And so we provided the tool to run that type of a process. And then it can decide when it wants to use that tool for the analysis we're asking it to perform.
Okay, cool. Yeah, so this one's actually going in and leveraging Jupyter. It's allowing Jupyter to run that process. It's waiting for its response to get back, and he's got a very defined set of steps there. So again, no AI agent task in that example. Do you want to splash the workflow up, Nate, or do you feel like that's too much?
Workflow?
We're still seeing your dashboard. The workflow that runs when you hit that analyze
Understood.
button.
That's just unfamiliarity with presenting from this StreamYard as opposed to where I normally live. So let me.
Hey, after having to play Eddie's role last week while he was out,
I'll be the first to say, though, Nate's kind of taking this like a champ. I think Dan's got the switching of all the controls, and Nate's rolling with it. It's been fantastic. A lot of comments in the chat. Everybody seems pretty positive. So don't worry about a few seconds of dead air there, Nate. Appreciate it.
So I think the primary story that we're hearing with a lot of people is when we're building these agents, you're only limited by your imagination. And so generative AI, LLMs, and that agent task tile are very powerful tools, but it's one tool among many. And you might use other tools to do certain parts of the process while allowing the agent task tile to be the workhorse that kind of orchestrates and designs these different tools you provide access to. In this case, we triggered an anomaly detection workflow that's behind the scenes. Another team owns it. We have some trend analysis. It could be a tool. In this case, it's a workflow behind the scenes. And then we're simply just invoking a generative model to write the descriptive narrative. And we had built this prototype prior to our access to the agent task tile. If we were to redo this again today, we might let the agent task tile accomplish more of these steps than going through and declaring every single one individually. But you have the option to do both.
But the important thing here, right, is that run anomaly detection workflow, that's passing some stuff into Jupyter, right? It's waiting for Jupyter to finish doing its thing. And so you can have, like Nate mentioned, a different team. We've got a team of data scientists here, right, that run that data science process, and they can continue to adjust and tune whatever that model. So that's specific for us, right? And we're waiting for a very robust, compute-heavy process to complete in Jupyter before that anomaly detection is done and those insights are surfaced. So again, lots of different ways to skin the cat. Let your account team know if you got interest in this. Nate loves to get on with customers, as do I. So we'd both love to spend a little bit more time with you in a one-on-one setting where we can have a higher level of specificity and help you accomplish exactly what you're after if it goes beyond the simple examples that we provided here. It sounds like Arbor Rose is interested in seeing more on communicating workflow to Jupyter. So we can absolutely, Scotty, I know you're on the chat. If you've got a link to the documentation on that, you could drop in there. That'd be awesome. It's a new thing, but yeah, there's a call you make inside of Jupyter to tell it to load the content push from the workflow, and then also where you push it back. So we can get you documentation on that. Yuan is asking about sharing the Jupyter module. Do we have a good way to share notebooks, Nate?
In terms of pushing a notebook down in your environment, no, but I believe that you can simply load or install a variety of statistical packages in Jupyter natively. And so if you're comfortable with Python or you're comfortable with R, you can install the requisite packages that you need to run that type of analysis.
Cool. Well, Eddie, I think we did it, and we did it in less than an hour this time.
Our friend
When's the next one?
When's the next training session? What a segue into that QR code over there, right-hand side of the screen. Dan, tell them a little bit about the next session.
Yeah, so we're going to have Riley on. He's going to use some transcripts from some calls to do some rep rubric scoring, right? So in his example, and if you're not operating a call center, I still want you to come. There's so many cool things you can do. But in this case, he's going to go through and he's going to look at those audio transcripts and check to see if reps are doing everything we asked them to do, right? Did you address the customer a certain way? Did you ask the following questions? And it's gonna provide some rubric scoring, which is pretty dang cool. Again, if you don't operate call centers, I promise you will find use for that inside of your organization. Tons of cool examples. The pattern is what's important, and I think you'll love it. It's with Riley on the.
This could be scoring emails, classifying tickets, extracting copy, and just understanding basic concepts of what you're writing. It doesn't have to be a call transcript. That's just a great example.
Yeah, good call out there, Nate. So QR code, right, Eddie? Is that's the right one? I haven't scanned it. Is it up here? There? Where's that? I don't know.
I think it's you're right or left, depending on where you are on the screen. Thank you guys so much for joining us. As always, Nate, Dan, I think, we had hundreds of people on today to learn. And I think we continue to do these really, really impactful hands-on sessions. We're glad you're here. Please keep them coming. We will have the next one up on the community soon. So if you're a community forums user, you will get a notification very shortly on the next one. Arbor, I've said this for a while now, but I can be bought. Any type of sponsorship that you'd like to see on the screen is impactful. Nick says go Pacers, obviously obligatory to the sweatshirt today. Usually have the Domo shirt on, but Pacers in 5, Pacers in 6, maybe. So obviously I gotta promote them. We would talk to Utah about basketball, but unfortunately they got rid of the only good player they've ever had. We don't understand why. So that's for another topic, another day. Dan, Nate, thank you guys so much. Very cool session, and appreciate all you guys do for us on these live streams.
Yeah, thanks, of course.
Thanks.
Appreciate you having us.
Thanks, guys.